So can you introduce yourself?
My name is Shanice. I'm an international student from Zimbabwe, currently an economics major here at Kalamazoo College, which is in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Great. And when and where did you study abroad?
I studied abroad in a small town called Clermont-Ferrand in France. I did it at the beginning of my junior year, so I spent about 6 months there.
Nice. And why did you decide to study abroad, especially as an international student?
Um, my philosophy is, if you can do more, why not? So, I've always loved traveling, always had the desire to see new places. And so for me, I didn't just want to stop with coming to school in the US. I wanted to see more of the world. So I decided to study abroad in France. One of the reasons I chose France as well is that from there I could very easily travel within Europe, and I definitely did experience that while I was there. So that would be one reason I decided to do it. Another was to challenge myself, not only personally but also just in terms of being around people of a different culture and who speak a different language. So not being able to speak the language as soon as I got there, I felt would be really integral to my growth. And that's another big reason I decided to go.
That's really great. Were finances a concern for you? And if they were, how did you afford to study abroad?
Sorry, quick question. Should I be looking at the camera or at you?
You're correct. You can be look here.
Okay, cool. Finances were definitely a concern. But I was lucky in that most of my scholarship, in fact, all of the financial aid that I received.
I'll ask the question again so I can edit that part.
Okay.
I'll ask the question, then you can answer, and you can
Cool.
look here.
Okay.
So were finances a concern for you? And if they were, how did you afford to study abroad?
Finances were definitely a concern for me before I decided to study abroad. But luckily, all the financial aid that I received at K transferred towards the program that I did because it's affiliated with the school. But especially in terms of spending money, and I wanted to travel, experience the food, and so I worked and saved up for a really long time before I left. I'd say probably my whole sophomore year I was just working towards saving for study abroad, and that definitely was a huge help.
Great. So planning was key for you.
Yeah.
Can you tell us that, while you were abroad, if you experienced any discrimination, or did you feel you were treated any differently because of how you identify?
I wouldn't say that I experienced any discrimination, actually. There may have been one or two ignorant comments that were made, not necessarily about my race, but about Africa, about me being from Africa, and Zimbabwe specifically. But in terms of anything that I identify with, I can't necessarily say that I experienced discrimination.
Okay. And did you feel like you had a support system or people you could express some of your concerns to while you were abroad?
We did have a resident director who just looked over the group, looked after us while we were there. And I did feel that I could go to her with any concerns that I had. The concerns that I had, though, were more logistical issues, like how easy would it be to get from place A to place B, or if I had issues with money, I could definitely go to her and we would have been able to work something out. So in speaking in that sense, I do feel like I had a support system.
Great. That's really great to hear. And the last question is, can you give any advice to a student who's fearful or concerned about studying abroad? If you could give any advice to that student, what would it be?
My advice is just go for it. You're always going to have situations in life where you feel challenged, where you're afraid to do something. When I went, I literally didn't want to get off the plane and meet my host family because I was like, what am I doing? I just didn't want to do it. But that's how you grow, and in time it'll become the norm. and I found myself looking forward to challenges rather than shying away from them. So not only is it a great chance to grow and see what you're able to do, but it's also just, I mean, it's fun. Study abroad is really fun. You get to experience different cultures, different languages, different foods, music, and yeah, I'd say just go for it. Go all in.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.